How we going, guys? Thank you so much again for purchasing the Simple Debt Tracker on my Etsy shop, guys. Now, obviously, if you have any big questions for me or something doesn't make sense throughout this YouTube tutorial, feel free to reach out to me on my Etsy shop at Trackify Studios. But let's just get straight into this. Now, the first thing that's going to appear on your screen, guys, is the guide tab. Now, if you feel like reading through this complete guide tab, it breaks it down step by step on how the debt tracker works and how you can obviously use the debt tracker and how you can also create copies and continue on the same kind of formulas I've already inputted. It's there if you want to read it ever, and it's always good to come back to as a reference guide just in case I don't really make something clear in today's video, but I'm going to try to explain everything to each little individual detail about it. Now, the first thing you want to do is head over to the January tab, because obviously January is at the very start of the year. You want to input all your January data for all your debt. Now, as you can see here, what you want to input is the names of your debts. As you can see, I've got 10 debts. You can have up to 10 debts. You can name them whatever you like, and they will automatically carry over to the other tabs as well, which is the beauty of this debt tracker. You don't have to re-enter the name so often. You don't have to enter it in at least 12 times. You can just, you know, open and keep moving copies or making copies of this debt tracker, and the name will forever stay the same, because pretty much whatever name you put in this debt name column will stay the same throughout the whole entire tab and the whole entire debt tracker. Now, obviously that's the same for the original debt amount. So obviously some of you may be well and truly ahead of your debt, but obviously you should be able to get your original debt figure. I suggest just grabbing this, because obviously you'll be able to see how much debt you've paid off over, you know, a certain amount of time. It's a very cool thing to know, and that's what this graph is here is for, but I'll get into more about that later. And then obviously you want to put your current debt amount that you're currently on. So that's where you're scheduled to be on your debt amount. That's how much you currently owe at this point in time. And obviously the interest rate, you want to make sure you input all your interest rates down in this column here. If you don't have, you know, up to 10 debts, you can just put a dash, which is just that, for example, and then dash out the rest of the columns. But obviously for the purpose of this video, we're just going to keep what we've already done. Now, obviously the interest charge automatically calculates, which I'll explain more a bit later. You want to input your scheduled repayments into this column here. So that's what you're contracted to pay on your debt. So that's like your scheduled repayments. Now, the actual is your actual repayment that you're actually making. So this may be even more than your original debt repayment. Like this is like, you know, say for example, your home loan's $2,500, but you actually pay $2,600, you know, just to knock it down a bit further. That's fine, as long as that's in that scheduled repayment. I would put that figure in there. And obviously you want to do this for all your debts underneath each other. And the extra payments, just like if you're making like an extra, you know, few payments, not on top of your scheduled repayments. So pretty much, you know, you've, say for example, you've already made your 2,600 repayments, and you have an extra $400 and you chuck it on there. You want to put it in the extra repayment, because it's not something that's contracted, but it's something that you're making onto your debt, which will make a difference on your debt. Now, the interest charge obviously gets calculated from pretty much your debt. So it's like a little figure up here, this little sum that works it out for you. Each tab is calculated to the number of days in each month. So obviously the 31 will be applicable for the days with 31 days. And obviously the ones with the figure of 30 up the top here will be applicable for the months that have 30 days. And obviously February is the only month that has 28 days. So I've actually programmed this down so you can get accurate interest charge figures for your debts. That way you're not going to be missing it out by a few cents. Now, the balance is basically calculated pretty much by adding your interest charge and subtracting your actual and extra payments away from it. So that's how you get this figure here, and it's calculated pretty much on there as well, which is very nice as well. Obviously, these figures will automatically carry over to the next page, which I'll explain in a few moments. But obviously once you've inputted your own data and deleted the data or my data, essentially all your data will be displayed on these graphs here. So pretty much there's like a little progressive kind of table that shows you how well you're progressing towards, you know, paying down your debt. Decided to put the figures there just so you can get an idea of how much, you know, what your current debt balance is for that month, how much you've paid off compared to what is currently still owing, which is pretty much off of your current debt figure, which is this one here, and the amount of debt you've paid, which is here as well. So obviously I put in like a summary box, I guess, how much debt you've paid this month. With, for example, here I've paid $10,520, and the remaining debts, obviously the balance figure with all the debts totaled together, which is $1,186,425.96. And there I decided to put in a box for interest charge as well, which is just the total amount of interest you get in charge for that month. Now, I've obviously put in here as well how much your scheduled versus your actual payments are. So I know a lot of people make a bit of extra payments, for their actual payments than they're scheduled. So what I mean by that specifically is, as I explained before, your scheduled amount is $500, but you make a payment of $550 as your scheduled repayment. It's more than the scheduled repayment. So I decided to put a little graph in there to show you, I guess, where you're, paying more and where you're paying the exact amount where you need to pay. And I just decided to put a graph here for how much you make as like your actual repayments for your scheduled, and I guess how much extra repayments you make every single month, which is a good insight to have as well. And I decided to put in a little graph of interest charge, so you know how much each debt's charging you. And for example, we know the investment loan is charging $2,611.64, which is a fuck ton of debt, or not debt, or interest you're getting charged, essentially what I'm trying to say. And obviously this is the key metric here. So this pretty much goes off your original debt balance and goes off of your actual balance, and it works out the difference between them to give you a figure of how much debt you've actually paid off and off of your debt. Because you got to remember, you're getting charged your interest, but you're paying this much of debt, and this is how much you've actually paid off after your interest has been added back to the total. So that's how it all works. Now, just to show you, essentially, as you could see before, if you look in the balance section here, if we head over to February, as you can see, it carries forward automatically into the debt amount, which is the beauty of that. So it automatically adds itself into the other, pretty much the other tabs. So obviously this balance will go into the other debt amount for March, and so on and so forth. The names stay obviously the same. Pretty much I've programmed them to be the same as January. So pretty much whenever you change these names on all the rest of the tabs, they'll also change, making it super seamless and fully automated. And the original debt amount's the same. Obviously, once you put in your original debts once, you won't ever have to put them in again, because they automatically go off of what you input in January. And your interest rates, I've left them as changeable, because interest rates are indicative to change based off of if you're on a variable product. I know a lot of people are on fixed products, but you got to make sure obviously you cover yourself. So I've left that something you have to add in manually, unfortunately. Interest charge, as again, automatically pretty much is always going to be different. So it's automatically going to calculate based off of what you input. Scheduled, it can always be indicative to change if your interest rate changes, because repayments are made off of basically how much interest you got to pay back as well, included in your repayment. So they're indicative to change. Obviously, actual repayments are indicative of change, and extra payments are indicative to change as well, because you may not have the cash there, for example. But pretty much you'll have to manually change the name, like the month name, which is February, depending on if you're adding more columns, which is more tabs, which I'll go into more later. You have to obviously change the year you're going to be using this debt tracker, so keep that in mind. They are not automatic buttons, unfortunately. You'll have to just input the year or the name of the month in the boxes above here. Obviously, these basically go off the calculations of the table down here, so they'll automatically change based off of what you input in the table. Now, obviously, it's pretty simple and self-explanatory to go through this, and all it gives you is just a monthly insights to how much interest you're being charged and how much you're actually knocking down your debt. Obviously, I do plan on bringing out a yearly one very, very soon, but not the point of today's video. Now, I've pretty much already added another one of these tables in by making a copy. I'll show you as an example for this one. So there will be a bit of editing to do yourselves in order to get this right, pretty much. So looking at this here, you've got to have to edit a couple of these tables to suit which month you're going to. And for this example, I'll be making a February one. So this is going to be a great example to show you. So essentially, say for example, you've used all the 12 months and you'd like to reuse this. What you're going to do is click on the last one, which is January. You want to click on move or copy. You want to scroll down and hit on Jan 2026, because that's the one we want to make a copy of. Click on create copy. Click on OK, and boom, it's just created a copy. What we're going to do is drag it to the end. It's like so. We're going to change the name. We're going to click on rename by right clicking on it. We're going to go Feb 2026. go back and hit enter. There we go, that's our correct name. Obviously, these are going to be the exact same because it's going to think we're still going off of December's figures. So in order to change it to make sure that the report is still flowing how it should be, essentially what we want to do is go to the column here. We're going to go to debt amount and delete the debt amount because it's the exact same as the January one. We're going to delete the top one, hit on equals. We're going to go to January 2026. We're going to click on the top balance in the debt tracker here. We're going to hit enter. That's going to drag down, obviously it's going to bring over this balance here and make it a current debt amount for February of 2026. And in order for this to, to get the cells, what I'm trying to say is to get the cells to be the exact same, all we're going to do is click on the right bottom hand corner, drag down to debt 10. If we do that, all the cells will pretty much go off of what the balance was at the end of January of 2026, which is awesome. So now these figures are correct based off of our actual and extra repayments. It's going to tell us how much interest we're charged on that as well, and it's going to give us an accurate balance as well. But this is not currently accurate because obviously it's going off of 31 days. Now to change this, essentially, you're going to head over to your interest charge box first, click on the top one as I've already done. You want to go up to 31, you want to do it by 28, and if you hit enter, that's going to give you the amount of interest you charged for February. And what you want to do again is click on the bottom right hand corner, drag on down to debt 10. That's going to give you accurate figures for February. Obviously February could have 29 or 28 days in 2026. I haven't checked, I'm assuming it's 28. Now if you head all the way over to balance, for example, we're going to do the exact same. We're going to change it down to 28 to give us an exact figure for what our balance should be. If we hit on enter, there we go, that's what our balance should be. We click on the drop down box and drag it down to debt 10. Those are our correct balances for February, since there's only 28 days for that one. So that's essentially how you kind of copy and fix up the debt tracker to, go off of the last one. And obviously in here, we're going to manually change the name. So February, so if we go February, and then it's 2026, which is correct. If we go February again, there we go. And it's pretty much simple as that. It's very easy to use. If you do get stuck on how to, copy a tab, simply just head over to the guide tab at the very bottom. It's got it down here. There you go. So from here on, it's pretty much clear on how to actually do it, and it will explain it in pretty much full detail. So if you get stuck, please use this debt tracker in order to help you get along with this as well. I will add in how to do it for the interest as well, because I just realized I didn't do it. But that is just a quick rundown and a detailed rundown on how to use this simple debt tracker. Now guys, obviously any questions, just come to me on my Etsy shop at Trekify Studios on Etsy. But thank you so much again for purchasing this debt tracker, and obviously comment down below on how you're traveling with your debt, and I look forward to seeing you on my shop.